discovery of the body. At 4:24 p.m. on December 26, 2022, a quiet afternoon took a chilling turn. As a woman walked her dog along West River Road Northwest near River Bluff Lane, her companion suddenly veered toward a snow-covered ditch with unusual urgency. She followed hesitantly, unaware that her next steps would lead to a horrifying discovery. About 20 to 25 feet off the roadway, on the embankment of the ditch, something protruded from the snow. As she moved closer, she froze in terror. Partially emerging from beneath the icy layer was a human arm. A wave of shock coursed through her as the winter air felt suddenly heavier. Heart pounding, she fumbled for her phone and immediately called 911, her hands trembling as she described what she had seen. Authorities arrived swiftly, securing the scene as they launched their investigation. What they uncovered was grim, a lifeless body, partially buried in the snow, left abandoned in the bitter cold. The victim was later identified as 41-year-old Kimberly Ann Robinson, a devoted mother of 3. Law enforcement, however, withheld her name until all of her family had been notified. From the outset, it was evident that Kimberly's death was no accident. The way her body had been discarded suggested a desperate attempt to conceal a crime. While investigators remained tight-lipped about certain details, including how long she had been exposed to the elements, they did confirm that her body was intact when discovered. Determined to uncover the truth, detectives meticulously retraced Kimberly's final movements. They canvassed the neighborhood, reviewed security footage, and analyzed her phone records, following every lead with growing urgency. With each passing hour, suspicions deepened, and the race to find the person responsible intensified. News of the horrifying discovery quickly spread, sending shockwaves through the community. Kimberly was more than a victim. She was a mother, a friend, and a woman whose life had been stolen far too soon. As chilling details of her case emerged, those who loved her were left shattered, struggling to comprehend the senseless loss. For her son, the news was unbearable. Grief consumed him as the weight of reality set in. He could only wonder, how would he tell his brother? How could he find the words to share something so heartbreaking, so irreversible? The investigation begins. As investigators from the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office delved deeper into Kimberly's case, one question loomed large: who would want her dead, and why? The search for answers began immediately, leading detectives to retrace her final days. What they uncovered painted a troubling picture. Kimberly had been last seen alive just days before her body was found. Friends recalled seeing her in good spirits, yet there was an underlying tension she couldn't shake. In private conversations, she had confided in loved ones about growing unease in her relationship. Though she tried to maintain a sense of normalcy, those closest to her sensed a shadow creeping into her life, one she seemed increasingly unable to escape. With each new detail, a disturbing truth began to emerge. The urgency to find the person responsible intensified, and detectives knew that uncovering the secrets surrounding Kimberly's final days would be the key to solving her murder. The autopsy and prime suspect. As the investigation progressed, Kimberly Robinson's body was transported to the Southern Minnesota Regional Medical Examiner's Office for further examination. An autopsy was performed on December 28, 2022, and while the full results would take weeks, the preliminary findings confirmed investigators' worst fears: a firearm had caused her death. Determined to uncover the truth, detectives meticulously reconstructed Kimberly's final moments. Surveillance footage, phone records, and witness statements all pointed to a single, chilling conclusion. The prime suspect was Mustafa Rahshad Bush, Kimberly's 39-year-old boyfriend. Bush was no stranger to law enforcement. In 2006, he had been convicted of murder and served 14 years before being released in March 2020 under supervised release. Despite his violent past, Kimberly had entered into a relationship with him, one that, according to friends and family, had been riddled with volatility and abuse. In the weeks leading up to her death, concerns for Kimberly's safety intensified. Loved ones recalled frequent arguments, unexplained bruises, and her gradual withdrawal from those closest to her. Her close friend, Croson, had sensed that something was terribly wrong in those final days. Kimberly's silence had been deafening. Desperate for reassurance, Croson sent her a final text. "Hey, are you alive?" Tragically, the message went unanswered. As investigators dug deeper, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. But the most critical question remained: had Bush taken another life? Detectives were determined to find out. the arrest and charges. With overwhelming evidence mounting against Mustafa, law enforcement acted swiftly. Detectives reached out to his family, urging them to encourage his surrender. Recognizing the severity of the allegations, his relatives cooperated, and on the night of December 28, 2022, a family member accompanied him to the law enforcement center in Rochester. Upon his arrival, Bush refused to provide a statement and was immediately taken into custody on suspicion of second-degree murder. That same night, multiple law enforcement agencies, including the Rochester Police Department and the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, executed search warrants across the city, gathering crucial evidence to strengthen the case. Each new discovery further solidified Bush's connection to the crime. Cell phone records placed him near the scene at a crucial time, aligning with the estimated time frame of Kimberly Robinson's death. Surveillance footage captured a disturbing altercation between the two just days before her disappearance. Witnesses, including close friends and family members, came forward to describe the volatile nature of their relationship and the escalating signs of domestic abuse that Kimberly had endured. For years, the warnings had been there, ignored and overlooked until it was too late. With Bush in custody, investigators worked relentlessly to reconstruct the final hours of Kimberly's life. Every new revelation pointed to one undeniable truth. This was not a random act of violence, but the tragic culmination of a prolonged pattern of abuse that ended in premeditated murder. Yet, for Kimberly's loved ones, no conviction could ever undo their devastating loss. Their grief was immeasurable, haunted by the warning signs they had witnessed, the fears they had voiced, and the final message she had sent, one that was left unanswered. Now, their only hope was that her story would serve as a powerful reminder, ensuring that no one else would suffer in silence. The trial and sentencing. After nearly 2 years of waiting, justice for Kimberly Robinson took center stage in October 2024 as Mustafa Rahshad Bush stood trial for her murder. The prosecution wasted no time in exposing the depth of his violent history, portraying him as a habitual abuser whose actions had finally escalated to the ultimate crime. The courtroom was packed with Kimberly's family and friends, their sorrow evident as prosecutors detailed the chilling sequence of events leading to her death. Experts in domestic abuse testified, offering critical insight into the dangers she had faced and the psychological grip Bush had maintained over her. Forensic evidence placed Bush at the crime scene, erasing any doubt that he was responsible. It was not a crime of passion. It was deliberate, calculated, and deadly. Testimony from loved ones provided further validation of the prosecution's case. Kimberly had confided in them about her growing fear, yet she had struggled to break free from the cycle of control and manipulation. She had tried to reach out, but the warning signs had not been enough to protect her. One of the most damning pieces of evidence came from Kimberly's son, who revealed that his mother had sent him photos of bruises on her body, telling him that if anything ever happened to her, Bush would be responsible. Another witness described seeing Bush tending to a burn pit the day before Kimberly's body was discovered, an act investigators believed was an attempt to destroy key evidence. The jury deliberated for only 4 hours before delivering their verdict. Guilty on all counts. A grand jury had already found probable cause that Bush had acted with intent and premeditation, and now the court reached the same conclusion. His conviction held him accountable, not only for Kimberly's murder, but also for a long history of domestic abuse that had ultimately cost her life. The sentencing. On sentencing day, the weight of the moment bore down on everyone present. The judge sentenced Bush to life in prison, ensuring he would never harm another person again. His violent past had caught up with him, and there would be no escape this time. Bush stood before the court, showing no remorse. His fate was sealed, yet for Kimberly's family, the pain of losing her could never truly be erased. Her children had lost their mother. Her friends had lost a beloved companion. The verdict may have brought justice, but it could never restore what had been taken. As the trial concluded, Kimberly's story became more than just a case. It became a stark reminder of the dangers of domestic abuse. Her loved ones remained determined to honor her memory, using her tragic fate to advocate for victims who might still be suffering in silence. Despite his conviction, Bush attempted to challenge the ruling by filing a preliminary application for post-conviction relief, arguing that he was not responsible for Kimberly's death. However, the evidence against him was overwhelming, and his claims did little to shake the truth. For Kimberly's family, the pursuit of justice did not end with a prison sentence. Their fight continued as they vowed to keep her memory alive, ensuring that her story would serve as both a warning and a call to action against domestic violence. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out for help. Resources are available, and no one should have to face this alone. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories. Until next time, stay safe.